Why, yes, I believe we shall.
Oh, I got a live one here.
Live from Little Rock. Pardon me. Live from Little Rock, it's Shane Plays Geek Talk, a journey into the things we love. Our subject today is going to be the Hot Springs International Horror Film Festival. So I guess that horrible beginning from me, with that horrible frog in my throat or whatever the heck that is just a foreshadowing of the suspense, drama, and outright terror that is to come. Anyway, folks, I'm your host, Shane Stacks. Thanks so much for joining us. Got a cool show today. I think Shane Plays has been on the air about 3.5 years now, something like that. And I think this is only the second time I've had the opportunity to talk about horror as a genre and an art form. And then also we get the extra bonus. One of the things I like to do with Shane Plays is talk about cool, geeky pop culture stuff, but I also like to help local folks with things that they do. So, you know, if you're aware of the International Horror Film Festival in Hot Springs that has been going on for several years, and you're like, oh yeah, I need to get up to that again, or I need to then I hope to remind you. And if you're not aware of it, I hope to inform you. This is live talk radio. One of the reasons that I do this live is for the crazy I'm about to fall over the cliff terror and horror, if you will, of live radio. But also I like interactivity. So if anybody wants to call in at 501-823-0965 and talk to me or any of the guests, we're going to have and I'll let my guests that I'm about to introduce tease you with some really cool guests that we hope to have on later in the show. One for sure, one possible, depending on their availability. They're in the middle of another commitment right now as the show's going out, but we'll see what happens. You can also tweet me at Shane Plays. That's ShanePlays, ShanePlays, and I love to get your feedback and everything on Twitter. So with no further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce my main guest today, who is one of the organizers of the Horror Film Festival in Hot Springs, and he's also his business card. I can't remember if it's business card or his title on the film festival website said he's a Scarologist. So John Burton, the Scarologist, welcome to Shane Plays.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, so glad to have you. We had the pleasure of meeting at Little Rock Comic Con. You came up and introduced yourself and was telling me about the film festival, which runs the same time, the same weekend as SpaCon. Now, the film festival, the Horror Film Festival in Hot Springs has been established for longer, but it so happens it runs the same weekend, so there's a nice sort of, and I hate to use business, but there's synergy. There's synergy there. So, in fact, I think Bill Volland, the other organizer and founder, I think he said that that you guys are going to have a booth at SpaCon and maybe have some people signing autographs or something. Is that right?
Yeah, we have our two main guests going over there to sign autographs, I think between 2 and 3:30 on Saturday and Sunday, but they'll be at the film festival from Thursday through Sunday.
Nice. Okay, and that's this coming Thursday. Today is September 15th. So if you're listening to this live at 1 p.m. Central, whether you're listening on 101.1 FM The Answer out of Little Rock, or if you're listening via the live stream on 101.1 FM The Answer.com, it's, today's the 15th. The festival starts Thursday, which is that the 20th?
Yes.
Yeah, so it starts the 20th and runs through, I guess, Sunday, which will be what, the 23rd? Am I getting my dates right? Okay, great. So we'll talk more about what the festival is and some of the cool stuff you can do and the guests you can meet, definitely during the show today. First, John, I wanted you to tell me a little bit about what you've got. An interesting business card, and it's you like to make cool stuff for people, and you're a Scarologist. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, Scarology is the art of scaring people. I have been creating haunted attractions all over the United States since 1971. was my first commercial haunted attraction. It started from yard haunting at Halloween and grew into an obsession, then grew into a career. This marks my 48th year of professionally haunting. And I've done haunted attractions and Halloween events in 20 different states and about 130 different attractions and events over that 48 years.
Nice. So have you seen, I know that commercially, as far as the amount of money spent and this and that and the other, you know, Halloween is second only to Christmas, I guess, at least for American holidays. Have you seen it? Does it grow every year? Or, I mean, how has...
Well, Halloween is, yes, there are some people that say it's second only to Christmas worldwide. Some say that billions of dollars are spent. I don't know for sure. Others say, no, it's not even near that. But Halloween is the third largest party holiday of the year, behind New Year's Eve and the Super Bowl. And as far as professional haunted attractions, that has grown incredibly in the past 20, 30 years. I remember when there was no haunted attraction trade shows. Now there's like 5 in North America. There's even one in England, and that part of Halloween has grown quite a bit, the adult side of it.
Right. Okay. Well, I would have to check my facts. I just remember at one point hearing between all of the candy that's bought and just all the different stuff that goes on that, you know, it's a big holiday for retail.
Yeah. So, one time they were saying that $4 to $5 billion was spent in candy alone.
Wow.
Now, I don't know who
came up with those numbers.
With those numbers.
Right.
And I wouldn't dispute it if somebody showed me the proof. But
now, is the has the film festival always been sort of like late September?
Yeah, one year Bill did it. Bill Wallen is the founder and director of the film festival. One year, on advice from friends, he did it in October. Found out that was not a smart thing to do and moved it back to September. But yeah, it's been late September, except for 1 year. Okay,
I was curious. Like, is it like to get in there right before the Halloween season fires up? Because in October, people get busy. Like I imagine that impacted.
And, you know, it's a fantastic way to start off your Halloween season. If you're a Halloween nut like me, you know, you like to celebrate Halloween, you know, a month and a half, 2 months long, and this is the greatest way to kick it off with a bunch of horror, thriller, and sci-fi movies.
Excellent. Okay, so why don't you just tell us, and I'll move us along. But do you have a professional haunting that you've done that you're the most proud of, and what that was, and what it all took, and everything?
I am proud of every one of them, but I don't know. You know, there's a couple that stand out. Brutal Planet in '96. I created that for a company called Distortions Unlimited, who's a manufacturer of Halloween props and haunted attraction effects and things like that. And Industrial Nightmare, which I did in the Louisville, Kentucky area, also in '96 and '95. I worked on Spooky World in '99 and 2000 in the Boston area. And some of the Silo X's, I did a Silo X haunted house in Boston area in '97 and one also in the Chicago area. Those were kind of cool because it was a military-themed haunted house. But, you know, there's something about every one of them that I like. The one that we're doing now that opens up a couple weeks after the film festival at the same theater is probably the most unique haunted attraction I've ever done, because it's not just a walk-through attraction. It's part play, it's part movie, and it's part haunted attraction walkthrough. it's an hour-long show, and we show some of the short films from past film festivals, and there's a serial killer that shows up, and you've got to escape going through the backstage area where the serial killer has been living for years. And but it's almost like a Frankenstein of haunted attractions, because there's different parts of different types of entertainment all come together to make this one great event. So I would say it's the most unique one I've done, and well worth the drive from Little Rock to Hot Springs, or anywhere in Arkansas to Hot Springs.
So that one's going on this year?
Yeah, it starts the 5th of September. We do a showing Fridays and Saturday nights, and I think it's $20. And like I said, it's an hour-long show, and it's more than worth the drive. If you're tired of going to these all black-walled haunted houses that are in Arkansas,
right,
this is the place to go. You've got professional movie and haunted attraction people doing it. Bill Volin, he worked in Hollywood for many years as an art director, a producer, director, set decorator, worked on the show Silk Stockings. He's done some of the Chuck Norris movies and several other movies. And he's a great decorator. And between him and I, we've created probably one of the most unique haunted attractions for Halloween you'll see anywhere.
Okay. And that's at the, is that at the Central Theater in Hot Springs, I take it? Okay.
The same place as the film festival.
Excellent. Okay. Well, we're going to talk more about the film festival probably after the first break. I want John to tease us with, there's one guest it sounds like we'll definitely have on by phone after the first break, and there's another one we may possibly get depending on if they're available. But John, do you want to tease us with who those two guests might be?
Oh, absolutely. First one is Michael Berryman, and some people don't remember his name, but if you see his face, you'll know who I'm talking about. You can go to the website and see him. But he was in the original Hills Have Eyes 1 and 2. He was in Weird Science. He was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He's been on X-Files, Tales from the Crypt, Nip Tuck. I mean, he's the most recognizable face in the horror genre.
Right. Yeah, he's got very distinct features.
And we're screening one of his latest movies called The Evil Within on Sunday night of the film festival at 5:30. And the second guest we have coming in is a longtime friend of mine, R.A. Mihailov. A lot of people know him as Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. He also played another character called Shark, I think it was Shark or Finhead, in Trancers 3 with Tim Thomerson.
Okay.
And his latest movie is a futuristic kind of biker movie, but it was filmed in Death Valley earlier this year, called Ride Hard, Live Free. And the cool thing about that, the producers of that movie have set up a motorcycle run from Rodney Cycle House in Little Rock to Hot Springs before the screening on Saturday. The screening is at 8 o'clock. They're starting at Rodney Cycle Shop at 5 o'clock or 5:30. 5 o'clock for meet and greet with Leatherface, R.A. Mihailov, and then kickstands up at 6:30 for the ride to Hot Springs. And if you have a motorcycle, you can meet there and do a run with Leatherface himself.
Nice. Well, that's cool.
And then there's a party at Fat Jack's at 10 o'clock after the screening. And after both of those screenings, we're having a Q&A, like a Q&A panel discussion. And Ride Hard, Live Free, the executive producer and some of the other crew and maybe some of the other cast is going to show up and They're going to do a Q&A, and then there's a Q&A after The Evil Within with Michael Berryman on Sunday.
Okay. And what's the, I'll put this in the show notes for the podcast version and the Krypton radio version, but what's, do you know off the top of your head what the website is for the film festival? I'll see if I can find it here real quick.
Do what?
The film festival has a website, right?
Yeah, it's HotSpringsHorrorFilmFestival.com.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pulling, so, and people can also get all that information right there. And it's at the, I guess, sort of a historic Central Theater that,
it's over 100 years old, and that's at 1008 Central Avenue in Hot Springs.
Nice. Okay. Very cool. All right. Well, I've got some show notes and whatnot to get through here, and then we will probably circle back, take a break, and when we get back, we'll talk more about the International Horror Film Festival in Hot Springs that'll be next weekend, over the weekend of basically starting Thursday the 20th through Sunday the 23rd. And people can go to HotSpringsHorrorFilmFestival.com to see all the different things that are going on. And you just heard about a couple of very cool guests that are going to be there. All right. So do some show notes here real quick. And then we'll get back with John, the Scarologist, and who's also very involved with this horror film festival. So first of all, today, if you're listening live, like I said, I love my podcast listeners. I love my Krypton radio listeners, people that, catch it on YouTube, whatever. And that's great. But, listening live sometimes does have an advantage. Today, evidently, and they've done it the past few years, is Batman Day. So DC Comics works with the comic book retailers out there. And so we have Batman Day today on the 15th. You can go into your friendly local comic store, and if they're participating, you can get a couple of free Batman comic books. Now, show sponsor Michael Tierney of Collector's Edition Comics in North Little Rock and the comic book store in Little Rock is participating. He says, I don't know if you know, in the comics, Catwoman just jilted Batman at the altar. They were about to get married. She jilted him. And so Michael sent out a thing, said the superhero community rallies around Batman after Catwoman's most nefarious deed yet with a jilted lover cell. So not only is it Batman Day, but if you go to Collector's Edition in North Little Rock or the comic book store in Little Rock, you'll get 25% off old comics and graphic. So basically back issues and graphic novels. Plus, while supplies last, and supplies are limited, there's some free Batman Day only special comic books that you can get. But you got to get in there while supplies last. So get on over there, do that. Also, show sponsor Troll Lord Games of Castles and Crusades fame has a Kickstarter running through October 5th. And it's the classic Castles and Crusades box sets and digest books. So it's a special collector set of Castles and Crusades digest versions, which that means smaller versions of all the books, and in a special edition box set of the complete game. And it's kind of like when D&D first came out. John, did you ever play D&D back in the day, or do you still play it by any chance?
No.
Okay. Well, when D&D first,
I'm good friends with the guy that did the soundtrack for it.
What, for D&D?
For you talking about Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was Midnight Syndicate did the soundtrack.
Are you talking about like one of the D&D movies, or?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to look that up. I wasn't familiar with that. But what this Kickstarter is for Castles of Crusades is when the original D&D game first came out in 1974, it was in a little box set. And so this is kind of like that for Castles and Crusades. So you want to go check that out. The show notes and links, if you're listening to the podcast version or Krypton Radio or on YouTube or whatever, the show notes and links for today's show will be at shaneplays.com. That's ShanePlays.com. Last week's show is up there right now, and that was the persistent Mike Myler and Imperial Matchmaker Redux, and he's the tabletop RPG designer who took his thing back to Kickstarter to make sure it happened for the people that wanted it. It was a good interview. Go check that out. The show does go out as a podcast on the blog at shaneplays.com, iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, Podbean, SoundCloud, YouTube, and more. And last but never least, Shane Plays is also carried on Krypton Radio. Krypton Radio is SciFi for your Wi-Fi. KryptonRadio.com. All right. So this is, for longtime listeners will know, if somebody's a new listener, let me just explain real quick. The head of my news team, Sal, he wears a fedora and chomps a cigar and all that. It's not Sal, but his grandmother and her dog, Muffin, they've gotten to where if I don't banter with my engineer, Zach, at least once per show, they get upset with me. But there's a little bit of a twist this week, which we'll get to here in a second. But first of all, Zach, how the heck are you?
I'm doing great, man.
You're doing good. You're Speaking of horror movies, you're last week you were here for like 12 hours. You're going to be here for about 12 hours again today because of football, right? All right. But like we said, you're making that money, getting that cheddar. All right. We love it. So now, Zach.
Yeah.
I sent an email, I think it was on like Thursday or Friday, and I included you in it, and I never got a response.
Okay.
It went to your UALR email. Did you get that?
What was the email about?
I was putting a crew of people together to go see Dragon Ball Monday night.
Oh.
And so you just decided not to reply to your friend Shane?
I told I was going to, and then I just, it totally just escaped my mind.
Okay. Would you, if we go, I still have to try to get a kitchen pass, and it's been so crazy I can't even explain how crazy it's been this week.
Yeah.
I haven't even had a chance to remember to ask my wife yet.
Yeah.
So would you be interested in meeting us up there?
I'm interested, but the thing is, I probably won't be able to go because my car is in the shop right now.
Your car's in the shop.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, if you can make it, and for the people out there, Fathom Events is doing this thing where they're re-screening the Dragon Ball Z Broly movie.
Right.
Not the new one that's coming out soon. This is the previous one from years ago to kind of help build interest for this new one. And there's a crew of geeks that I reached out to that want to try to go. Now, I got to call somebody else out on this, Zach. You're not the only one.
Go ahead.
All right. So the head of the Mobley Detective Agency, who's been helping us research the whole Muffin and all the craziness. He's the one that gave us the heads up that Muffin was really upset because I impersonated you a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
He hadn't responded to the email either. And I happen to know he's a big Dragon Ball fan. So, and I know that Justin listens. So Justin, are you going to go? Justin. You can call in today live. He listens to the show sometimes live, 501-823-0965. Anyway, I love that. So I had to give him a hard time because I figured he'd be like the first one to say, yeah, I didn't hear anything back from him.
Okay.
But speaking of horror and monsters, he's the one. Remember I told you a couple of weeks ago there was a little special surprise under my desk?
Yeah.
He's the one that did the research on that. And let me tell you something. Either Muffin was working on that for a while, or else Muffin's bigger than I thought. That's all I'm just going to leave it at that. But there was some horror and terror involved in all that. Okay, this week, Zach, I also listen to this. I got feedback from a listener. All right, you ready?
Go ahead.
After last week's show, where I had to apologize publicly and grovel for impersonating you, it said I got feedback from a listener that said we listened to the first part of your show yesterday on the way to Best Buy to get this machine, talking about the computer is writing from. It said, I think my wife is rooting for Muffin. What is going on here? What is this strange power that Muffin holds? All right, now here's the thing, Zach. This is the tables have turned a little bit. I got a message that said that they appreciated me, apologizing and asking for forgiveness, and acknowledging where the true power on the show is with them. Evidently, I had to kiss their ring. But now they're a little upset with you, Zach.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because when we were talking about the football schedule,
yeah,
and you just said, I'm just looking forward to getting a break on those Saturdays.
Well, I was talking about you.
No, we might have to go back and pull the audio because they understood it to say that you didn't care if they heard from you every week or not. So we'll pull the audio. And when they hear, because we pre-recorded next week's show yesterday, because hopefully I'll be at SpaCon. When they hear what you said yesterday, I'm in the clear for like 6 months. That's all I got to say. All right. I'm going to get us to a break. And when we get back, Zach's going to be trying to call our two special guests from the film festival. So hopefully we'll have them with us soon after the break. And then also we'll be talking with John Burton from the Hot Springs International Horror Film Festival, learning more about the cool stuff. And that'll be next weekend.
Comic book lovers, visit thewildstars.com today. From the mind of author and comic book industry expert Michael Tierney, it's not just a comic book, it's a comic book novel. The Wild Stars is sci-fi and so much more. Learn the explanations behind UFOs and space gods. This isn't the Twilight Zone. This is the region of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Wild Stars. We guarantee you've never read anything like it. The complete comic book novel took 20 years to tell, with one reviewer noting, the story of the Wild Stars stretches ambitiously across space and time, from small-town murders to the destruction of planets, with every event given multiple layers of meaning. If you haven't read The Wild Stars, you're missing out. Visit thewildstars.com today. The die is cast. Plunge into worlds of fantastic adventure where dragons lie and the undead stalk the shades of your mind's imagines. Where creatures of legend plunder wealth through the horror of their passage. Monsters grim and foul hold the ecstasy of gold and the renown of glory. All this and more awaits you and your friends in the unlimited, fantastic world of the Castles and Crusades role-playing game from Trollord Games. Visit your friendly local game store or Trollord.com to get your copy today. A rules-light, adaptable game that has stood the test of time. 12 years in constant publication with no new additions. Castles and Crusades is the original, easy-to-play attribute check system. Join us and unleash your imagination. Visit your friendly local game store or Trollord.com to get your copy of Castles and Crusades today. Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/Shane Plays.
Hey, welcome back to Shane Plays Geek Talk, a journey into the things we love. I'm talking with John Burton, who is an official scarologist and does official professional hauntings and has done that for since I believe 1971. But he's also one of the organizers of the Hot Springs International Horror Film Festival, which has been going on for many years and is going to be happening this coming weekend in Hot Springs. It's also the same weekend as SpaCon. So it's a great weekend to get up I can hear that. There we go. Zach's working on bringing in our special guest right now by phone. So hopefully we'll have a couple of the guests from the horror festival on momentarily. But it's next weekend in Hot Springs. The film festival, horror film festival, starts on Thursday, the 20th, runs through the 23rd, which is Sunday, and then also SpaCon will be Friday through Sunday. So it's a great weekend for cool, geeky, pop culture, horror, whatever your pop culture taste is or genre of choice. So make sure to get up there. And folks, you can call in if you want to talk to any of my guests at 501-823-0965, or you can tweet me at Shane Plays. Again, that's 501-823-0965. Okay, so John, I think who do we have? I think we have Michael Berryman on the phone. Michael, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Hey, welcome to Shane Plays Geek Talk. Thanks for making the time. I'm gonna let since John is our official scarologist and with the film festival, John, for people who may be joining us after the break, would you like to introduce Michael?
Yeah, this is Michael Berryman. Many of you would know him from the original and best The Hills Have Eyes, and did a great appearance on Weird Science, and he's been on everything that was really good or creepy.
Well, there you go. If he was in it, it was good and creepy. So that's official.
I like that.
Yeah, that'll be his tagline. So, Mr. Berryman, it's a pleasure to have you on. Of course, I've seen many of your movies. It's exciting that you're coming to Hot Springs next weekend, and you also have a movie that you're going to be showing that you're in called The Evil Within. So,
You betcha.
yeah, which looks really cool. So, I guess. Do you want to talk a little bit about The Evil Within and what that's about?
You bet. My dear friend Andrew Getty, he passed away about 2 years ago. He was the heir of the Getty estate, and he actually graduated from University of Southern California with a degree in film, and he grew up loving the art of filmmaking. So it's the only film Andrew ever made. It was based on a nightmare that he had. It starred Sean Patrick Flannery, Dina Myers, Fred Kohler, and I am the entity that brings the nightmares to Fred, which is Dennis, the character Dennis. Andrew used all of his own money. He actually would sit down with the cinematographer on occasion, and they would say, "I don't understand how we can do this particular shot without using, CG animation or what have you." And Andrew would sit down and go, "Okay, well, look, I've already drawn diagrams and how we set up the lights and how we can make this work." So when you see the film, realize that 95% of everything is practical, meaning it does happen right before your eyes in front of the camera. There's a scene with the first nightmare where Fred Kohler's character Dennis is you can hear him speaking, and he says, "Oh no, this is one of those dreams where you can't wake up. This is really bad. Oh no, he's here. Now he is me. On the lens sheet of the DVD, you'll see me, and I'm a cadaver. I'm just a body. I'm wearing I actually wore a full body makeup and triple layer ballet shorts. That was it for like almost a year in production, and I get up on the bed with him, and I roll him over on his stomach. Now the camera is like where the headboard would be, looking forward at Dennis's face, and I'm on top of him, and I hold up a rolled up zipper with needles, and I let it fall down, and then the camera goes up to a high shot looking down on Dennis and myself, and I start attaching the zipper to the top of his forehead all the way down to his waist, and now the camera's over my shoulder, and I unzip his body, climb inside of it, and walk out of the room. And it's practical. There's no CGI.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. I as soon as you said practical effects, I was excited. I mean, I'm not against CG per se, but, we've really gone so far into CG that, we've lost a lot of gritty realism, and the eye knows, that's one of the reasons why I liked Mad Max Fury Road so much, is like, all the cars were real, all the stunts and the eye knows subconsciously a lot of times the eye knows and it'll affect, how much you're drawn into the scene. So that's fantastic. So the Evil Within, the movie you were just describing, that is almost completely practical effects, even such an amazing scene like that, which sounds incredibly creepy. And see, to me, that to me, there's nothing wrong with a good jump scare. Everybody loves a good jump scare, right? But true horror is more like that, right? Where it's like this terrible thing that you mentally can't escape from. So
I agree. To me, I'm not a big fan of splatter. I consider it, splatter porn, in my opinion, because number one, if something happens to a character in a film, first of all, you're telling a story. I want to know what challenges each character has. What is their life up to this point? Why are they going to continue forward in this challenge? What tools do they have in the toolbox to deal with such? And the Dark Night of the Soul, which is an element in the Blake Snyder, I think it's Blake Snyder books, Save the Cat for screenwriters. Read it, Save the Cat. They have to rise to an occasion. So that creates the drama, that creates the emotional importance of what's going on. Otherwise, it's just a video game. So, how can I put this? I'll just say that in The Evil Within, there is a very special moment when Sean Patrick Flannery is at the restaurant. We filmed the entire film, almost all of it, at Andrew Getty's. He had a 4-story castle, literally. The restaurant was actually his pool house out in the backyard, facing you can see Universal Studios across the freeway. I was there the day when Andrew Getty was interviewing the gentleman who played Tiny in The Devil's Rejects, Matthew McCoy. And Andrew he was a very complex person. He had his own issues, but he did have a sense of humanity and had a big heart. I remember sitting down with Matthew and Andrew was fascinated with how Matthew dealt with his life, with his gigantism and various issues. And so Andrew said, "Well, look, in this scene, Sean Patrick Flannery comes up behind you and he sees your jacket you're wearing, and he mistakes you for his therapist because bad things are happening at the house, and Dennis is having issues, and Sean's character, John, is trying to get a grip on what is reality. So when he touches the shoulder of Matthew's drink gets spilled on himself. He gets up, of course, he's 7 foot plus feet tall, and it's intimidating. But instead of running with your standard, oh, here's a scary looking guy, the dialogue is completely what you would not expect. And Andrew let Matthew write his own dialogue. And it starts off with Matthew turns around, grabs both of Sean Patrick's hands in one of his hands, and he says, "Well, thank you. I was just having a lovely lunch, and then somebody like you comes along and ruins my day. And I see you looking at me. I know what you're thinking. What's wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with me. Tell me one good reason why I shouldn't just, clean your clock, so to speak." And he goes on a little bit after that. You don't get that very often as an actor. And I thought it was very gracious of Andrew Getty to let that play out, because the whole issue of why we do art is, in my opinion, there's the form of the art, how good is the photography, the color, the composition, except for the musical score, the pacing, all of that, and the dialogue. And the dialogue brings you into your characters, and they have to become alive. So it brings about something that's called the H factor, which I call the H factor, and that is there's humanity in the character. Otherwise, you don't care when something happens to them. And that's where a lot of films miss the mark. And that's why I love going to independent film festivals, because our up-and-coming geniuses and artists, in my opinion, create the best new storytelling, for all of us. So that's why I'm a big supporter of indie film festivals.
Well, cool. And speaking of the and thanks for all the insight into this Evil Within. I'm getting your insight to it is definitely making me want to see it. But speaking of the festivals, now what is your involvement going to be with the Hot Springs International Horror Film Festival this weekend?
Well, a little bird whispered in my ear and told me that the Evil Within is receiving an award. So on behalf of the company, I'm the guy who's available to be there, and it would be an honor to do a shout out to Andrew and show my gratitude for the people that received it so well.
I'm hearing in your in what you're saying that you really have a lot of respect for the folks that you make film and art with, and you hold them in high regard. I don't hear that.
Mm-hmm.
You hear that said, kind of thrown out there, and they're great, but I really hear it with you that you really it's a special thing for you to work with these people, and you see them in a special light. So that's cool. Now, are you going to be? Did I read right or correctly that you're going to be at the film festival the entire 4 days?
I don't have my schedule.
Okay.
I think I'm bouncing between the festival and a convention. That's my recollection.
Okay. Yeah. Spot. Well, John, do you have any insight on that?
Yeah, he's coming in Thursday morning. He's going to hang out with us off and on. He's going to be over at SpaCon on Saturday and Sunday from, I think, 2 to 3:30, about an hour and a half, 2 hours, signing autographs and that kind of thing.
All right.
And I want to say just a little bit about The Evil Within.
Yes, please do.
I'm not only helping Bill produce the show, I'm also one of the judges, and the really cool thing about being one of the judges is you get to watch all the movies beforehand. And when I started watching this Evil Within, I'm sitting there with Bill, and I said, well, I know this guy, talking about Michael.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched the movie, and the acting job by Frederick Kohler was incredible. I just kept saying to myself, this guy is doing an incredible job. I remember him from Death Race and stuff, and the acting was incredible. And then when I was talking to Mike, I reached out to Michael, trying to get into the festival, and I told Bill right off the bat, I said, well, in my mind, this is the winner right here. I said, I'd pay to go see this twice. And
Michael would love it if you did that, right?
I would.
When Michael was telling me everything was practical on this, that just kind of blew my mind, because some of the visuals in this movie, you're thinking, okay, that's CGI. And then I find out that no, it was all practical. Then it even upped it up another couple of notches. In
the opening sequence is a voiceover by Fred, by Dennis's character, Fred's character Dennis, and it's a desert, and there is the most scariest haunted house in the world. We actually built that set on the Mojave dry flatbed north of Los Angeles. Andrew Getty also. I lived there for over a year and a half. Had his home with him, just him and his cat and his race cars, and he would send me to the hobby store to get various items. The first opening shot of the haunted attraction house was actually a miniature that Andrew built himself, and then they duplicated it and built one on location because we had the carnival rides that go through it. So that is absolutely practical. Even when Ice Cream Sue gets hit, of course that's a wired dummy, but it really captures the moment. That's not CGI. And toward the end, when there's the creepy marionette sequence, those were all real marionettes. The bodies that are moving, just you see the torso or the top moving around, those were Cirque du Soleil artists that would wear blue spandex, which of course would not read, so you would just see the top of their torso or the bottom of the torso. The body part spider, that was actually all practical. So it was a lot of fun. Andrew was hoping that, of course, that he would live longer, number one, and number two, he's hoping that this film would have made enough money to where he could make some James Bond movies. He's a big fan of James Bond.
Oh, okay.
But the film has so many elements to it. The mirror maze, for instance, no CGI. And I remember the cinematographer saying, well, how can we film this and hide the camera? And Andrew had diagrams. He says, well, here's how you do it. You put mirrors on rollers, and you angle them thus and such. And I come up and start killing the reflections front to back of Dennis, all the way up till I come out of the mirror and into reality and kill him in person. All of that is practical.
Wow. Yeah, I'm really wanting to see this now.
It's a very interesting movie. It has some moments that are a little slow. I think some Dennis's dialogue is a little retard slow here and there. And that was also a term that we were worried about with censors. Oh, you can't say that. Well, it is what it is. But overall, for first attempt on the editing, he actually sold his 427 Shelby Cobra race car so he could buy an Avid Nitrous Adrenaline editing bay. So if any of you nerds out there know what that is, that's what he sold his race car for, so he could have the state-of-the-art.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a passion project, sounds like.
Totally.
So what if for some reason folks can't make the film festival, do you know how Evil Within is going to be distributed? Will it be viewable on DVD, online?
For 10 years. Yeah, it's been out for 10 years.
Oh, has it? Okay.
You can go to Amazon for $10.99. You can pick it up all day long.
Oh, yeah, okay.
On DVD.
Fantastic.
And it's a very sharp image on the DVD. It's high quality. Yeah.
So, John, do you know what time and what day this movie will be screened at your festival?
5:30 on Sunday.
5:30 on Sunday. Okay.
With the Q&A to follow with Michael.
Okay, excellent. I'm going to give a quick shout out to a sponsor, and when we get back, I want to let you mention your other featured guest at the festival who is unable to call in today, which, love to talk to him, but it did give us more time with Michael. And Michael, your insight and everything you're describing is fascinating. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, so real quick, throw some love at a sponsor. Some goblins are your friends. Game Goblins is Central Arkansas's premier retailer. Magic the Gathering, Warhammer 40K, board games, card games, RPGs, miniatures, and hobby accessories. Call Game Goblins at 501-224-GAME or visit them online at gamegoblins.com. Conveniently located at 1121 South Bowman, right on the corner of Bowman and Canis in West Little Rock, and staffed by friendly employees, Game Goblins has expanded their store size, and there's plenty of room for exciting inventory and tables for play space. You'll like that space because Game Goblins has gaming events every day of the week. For all your gaming needs, I heartily recommend Game Goblins. Make sure to check out their customer loyalty program that rewards you based on your actual purchases. Game Goblins earns your business and keeps it. First-time customers mention Shane Plays and receive $10 off your purchase of $50 or more. Tell them Shane Plays sent you. Also, folks, don't forget, today is Batman Day at Michael Tierney's Collector's Edition in North Little Rock and the comic book store in Little Rock. And he sent me a picture while the show's going on of a couple dressed up in Batman kind of gear and everything, T-shirts, and also the like a Batman cape. So get on over there and check it out. All right, so getting back to Michael Berryman and John from the film festival, I want John to tell us a little bit about the other featured guest and the cool motorcycle ride associated with that. But John, I also wanted to ask, how many films total will be screened this coming weekend at the Horror Film Festival in Hot Springs?
Oh, man, I don't know.
A bunch? Officially a bunch.
We start out at like 2:30 on Thursday, 2:30 in the afternoon, and it goes till midnight.
Okay. And it's just one movie at a time, right? It's just one screen, or is it multiple screens? Okay.
Just one screen. We just one movie right after another. There's a lot of movies that are shorts, that are 10, 12 minutes. There's a couple that are 2 minutes. There's one student film we got that's like 2 minutes and 45 seconds called The Attack of the Killer, The Attack of the Potato Clock. It's an anime.
Uh-huh.
It is funny. So there's just a bunch of stuff, one right after another.
Okay.
There's some very good feature films. The other special guest we have, Ari Mihailov, is going to be screening Ride Hard, Live Free with that bike ride beforehand and a party afterwards. And right after the screening, we're going to have RA, the executive producer, and some of the other crew and cast are going to do a Q&A at Ride Hard, Live Free. If you didn't hear me before, R.A. Mihailoff played Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. And, but that's some of it. We also have some seminars that we're doing on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing one over at SpaCon called Creating Atmosphere. And it's some of my techniques and things like that using cheap materials from Walmart or Home Depot or Lowe's on how to do some decorating for your home haunt or a professional haunt. And then we're doing 3 seminars over at Will's Cinnamon Shop right across the street from the theater. They've got a kind of a conference room. We're doing some seminars over there. A friend of mine by the name of Tony Buck, an excellent sculptor and mask maker, is doing a seminar on how to make your own mask, and he's going to be doing a Leatherface mask. And then the attendees to the seminar have a chance to win a autographed Leatherface mask. And then there's another guy, cinematographer Gene Siva, who's going to do a seminar on lenses. It's more of a technical seminar for, whether you're a novice or a professional. You would be surprised at how many filmmakers are right here in Arkansas. And then I'm doing another seminar that features some of the movies that I've worked on and the effects and sets that I've done. And it's called Movie Makeup, Mayhem, and Magic. And I show clips from the movies I've worked on and explain how I did those effects or how I created that sets for those movies.
Oh, excellent. So it whether you're into horror films or into filmmaking or both, there's a lot of cool stuff going on. So, folks, next week...
there's a lot of independent filmmakers from Arkansas going to be there. And it's not just horror. We also do a lot of sci-fi and thriller. We try to get that out there that it's horror, sci-fi, and thriller. And there's a bunch of sci-fi and thrillers. There's some that don't have a lot of blood, and then there's some that do have a lot of blood.
Right.
And
over the years, I've gotten to where I appreciate the movies that can unsettle me or scare me without a lot of blood, but everybody has their own taste. Unfortunately, I got about 2 minutes to draw us down here. I want folks, don't forget, next weekend, International Horror Film Festival, and it's the Hot Springs International Horror Film Festival, but like you said, it's also got some sci-fi and thriller. There's movies, there's sessions. You can meet folks like Michael Berryman from The Hills Have Eyes, and then also he'll be screening The Evil Within, which sounds really amazing and did some really cool stuff with practical effects. And then, SpaCon will be going on the same weekend, and then you've got, multiple R.A., I'm going to say this wrong, Mihailoff?
That's right.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. Who played Leatherface in Chainsaw Massacre 3, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, and he'll also be screening Ride Hard, Live Free, which is his movie. Now, Michael, I really... I appreciate both of your times. I really appreciate you making time to call in, Michael, and it was a true pleasure talking to you. And as I'm sure you hear a lot, your personality talking with you is a lot different from what you'd expect after seeing you in the movies. So really enjoyed it. Yeah, really enjoyed it. And then there is John, I've only got about 10 seconds to give you this. What is the other thing that's going to kick off a couple of weeks after the film festival? And you just got to mention it real quick.
Theater of Horror.
Okay, and that'll be another event that people need to make sure is paying attention to. Hey, Shane here with a quick footnote for the podcast and Krypton radio version of the show. The event that John is talking about is called the Theater of Horror, and it's going to run in Hot Springs every Friday and Saturday night at 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. starting October 5th through November 3rd. And it's an hour long part play, part movie, and part haunted attraction at the Central Theater in Hot Springs. So this is an event that will follow the International Horror Film Festival by a couple of weeks, and then it runs for close to a month. So again, that's Fridays and Saturdays, 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. So it sounds like 2 shows a night, starting October 5th and running through November 3rd. And now back to the show. Okay, I hate to do this to you both, but I have a bad joke of the week that we do every week. So and I have a horror one, okay? What instrument do skeletons play?
They don't have any organs.
Well, that's a good answer too, but the answer this time was the trombone. Because see, skeletons. Hey, I appreciate you both, Michael and John. I hope to see you next weekend.
All right.
All right. Thanks so much to you both. Have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, everybody. This is Steve White with NovelDog.com, and what I've got for you here is 4 examples of Save the Cat moments, particular scenes in 4 separate movies that illustrate a core of redeemability in a main character that makes the audience feel like, okay, this is a character that maybe I would want to watch. If you're not familiar with Blake Snyder or Save the Cat scenes, look it up, because here we go. First movie, Aladdin. The problem with Aladdin is it's a story about a thief. He steals. That's what he does. So why would the audience care to watch a story about a thief? Well, the writers knew that, so they created this.
Here. Go on, take it.
Okay, so maybe this Aladdin guy isn't so bad. Maybe we can get behind this story and enjoy it. But they're not done yet.
Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.